Brin heard a loud rap on the door to his workshop. Bad timing, hopefully they would go away. He was making glass. He waved his hand inside the glass oven to get a feel for the temperature before shutting the door. He couldn't touch the molten glass without getting burned, but heat resistance was more than enough for protecting him against the heat of the oven in brief doses. The oven still wasn't quite hot enough. Sure, he could pour a ridiculous amount of mana into the glass in the oven to heat it that way, but he wanted the furnace to be able to do it. That was the whole point of the furnace. Adamir, and then a Dempsey, had never had any trouble getting the furnace hot enough. What was he missing? He would try spying on the other glassers in town, but they all had skills for this, a complete waste in his mind. The knocking on his door came again, louder and more insistent. It was a bit of a surprise because shouldn't his invisible eyes have warned him someone was nearby? With a mental slap to his forehead, he realized his invisible eyes probably had warned him. He'd turned off his notifications while he'd been concentrating on glassmaking. In the 5 weeks they'd been in Blackcliff, he'd progressed in his class by leaps and bounds. He hadn't actually leveled up, but he'd done very well on his skills and attributes. His biggest leap had been mental control, now that he had a boost for training it, but there were some other notable advancements. Strength 214 to 216. Dexterity 155 to 156, Vitality 187 to 189, Magic 196 to 202, Mental Control 224 to 236, Will 144 to 147, Inspect 37 to 40, Hide Status 15 to 21, Athletic Training 33 to 35, Shape Glass 34 to 39, Summon Glass 27 to 28, Call Light Through Glass 38 to 45, Call Sound Through Glass 34 to 38. With multi-threading, the number of things he could actually do with his illusion powers had increased exponentially, and that in turn had helped him gain levels in his skills. He didn't have a light mind yet, but he was well on his way to creating one himself. He now always had several threads of thought working in the background, doing things like keeping watch with invisible eyes and logging everything in a shared storage file created with memories in glass. But that only helped if he remembered to check the log now and again. He pulled up his active log, a self-generated notification screen only visible to him now that Hogg had found the spell for it. DT1. 2 men approach the workshop on foot. DT1. 2 men arrive at the door of the workshop. DT1. 2 men have a conversation on the doorstep of the workshop. Conversation has been logged to log DT1 local. Directed thread is unable to summarize conversation. Activate conscious thread. DT1. Resource limit has not been reached. Activating conscious thread. CT2. Oh, okay. This is Sion and a warrior I don't recognize. The image is up on screen 1 if you want to take a look, but it's probably safe to just open the door. Returning. Multi-threading could make 2 kinds of threads. Normal threads were just his regular mind, but there were also directed threads. DT1 thread was an example of those. Directed threads could run with extreme efficiency, but the trade-off was that they weren't able to do anything except a single focused task. If they ran into anything that actually required decision-making or creativity, they'd fall apart unless a different thread could work out the issue for them. Directed threads had been born of merging directed meditation into multi-threading, but they didn't work exactly like his mind had while using directed meditation. They were much more limited with creativity, but more flexible with the kind of instructions he could give them. He could tell them things like, once per second, check the logs to see if there are any new instructions for you, and they'd be able to do it without losing much efficiency, while during directed meditation, he'd never have been able to switch his focus back and forth like that. DT1 hadn't been able to understand whatever Sion and the other guy behind the door were talking about, so it had created the other kind of thread. This one had his full intelligence, but it used up a lot more of his brain power. When one of those was running, it felt like time was speeding up, though the truth was a lot more complicated. Now that CT2 had returned, he had the memories of spying on Sion and the warrior as they argued. Sion wanted to try the door, but the other guy had insisted this must be the wrong address. Sion had gotten his way, and the other guy was knocking.